Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Community Starcraft 2. I'm your host, Sidewinder, and today's game, I don't even know why I'm introducing it this way, because it's usually the start of new videos. I guess I'm getting tired, but this is Game 4 of WhiteRa versus Ret. Ret is our red Zerg here at the top left-hand corner of Tal'Darim Altar, and WhiteRa is in the cross position, bottom right-hand side, and he's spawning as our blue Protoss. This series has been really weird. It's kind of been two players just taking turns beating on each other. Ret is up 2-1 right now after taking the first two games, so WhiteRa is still trying to climb back into this thing and get it evened up here with Game 4. But if Ret can press his advantages here, especially on this map, then he'll be able to take this series and move on in the tournament. But this was from the ASUS ROG Invitational, like I've been saying before if you've been watching the other games. And I want to talk a little bit about this map in ZVP in particular. This map is actually brutal for mutas. Mutas really do well on this map because of how easy it is to fly from this position to this position and do harassment once the Protoss is on 3 bases. Well, I guess it would actually be here and here since this is Protoss, but it takes forever for Protoss to have to walk all the way around, and even blink doesn't help because you can't blink across this chasm. And weird graphical things going on here. There's like a square of water, but anyway, that actually doesn't make any sense. I never noticed that before. But yeah, mutas are really brutal on this map, and we can see Ret actually hatching first. So WhiteRa is going to get up here and see what's going on. He could actually grab the 3 pylon block if he wanted to once he had the minerals, and he did try that in Game 2 and it failed. So WhiteRa is still dancing around here as if he wants to do that, and Ret needs to be really careful. You can actually patrol a drone at one of these locations. WhiteRa is actually just going to start a pylon here. Ret can't fall for this though. He can't try and pull a whole bunch of units and send it down to this pylon because this is exactly what WhiteRa wants. So if he does that and doesn't patrol here properly, WhiteRa could just wall him out of his base so that Ret couldn't get back in here and start mining. So WhiteRa with really smart pressure here. Ret's now pulling a bunch of stuff to deal with it. So we'll see if that's how WhiteRa actually follows up. No, he's going to try to start cannons. Look at this positioning on that drone. That was masterful positioning. And all these drones over here are actually just sitting here on stop position, preventing cannons from going down. So Ret's control is fantastic here. He does allow one cannon to go down, but it actually doesn't matter. The spawning pool is almost done. And this probe is almost dead. That one drone could have punched him for the kill, but no. So 2 pylons are coming up here at Ret's base. Ret pulls a ton of stuff here, and the hatchery actually finishes, so he needs to remove this. These drones are in a terrible position. He needs to go around, and he just realizes that. So there are no Zerglings on the way. He's just droning here. So Ret is really confident he can take this out, and the pylon, one cannon is actually canceled. The second cannon is also canceled. So WhiteRa not getting a ton done out of that. It does give him at least a safe hatchery, and Ret is so smart. He's playing extremely well. I want to mention something about Ret here really quickly. Ret is a really nice player. He's always been somebody that people have said should go a lot further than he has because he's trained in Korea, you know, formally or however you want to phrase that. So he's one of those players that should have benefited from Korean practice, but he's also a player in StarCraft 2 that looks really good sometimes and also can look really terrible sometimes. So he's looking extremely good in this series so far, and the one game that he's lost has really just been because he tried a drop that WhiteRa sniffed out and it just didn't work, and he'd gone too far just to back out of it. But Ret, if you notice there, or if you can even go back and watch that video, he had one drone that was actually like advanced shadowing the probe. So it's almost like he was playing defense on him in basketball or something. Like the probe wanted to go around and start placing cannons down, but he had one drone that was staying ahead of where the probe was moving so that he could block those cannons in advance. And then even behind that, knowing he could clean all that up with just drones, he just makes more drones, and he just doesn't make any Zerglings. He has 0 Zerglings on the field, or at least he did before. He now has 4. But yeah, he's going to go ahead and take a third here, a fairly safe third. It was about a 5-minute hatch starting. Here's one Stargate coming out of WhiteRa. Is he going to drop a second one? He has the gas for it, so he could actually do that. So we'll see if that's what he wants to try out. He's immediately attacking his rocks here at the third, though, so really wanting to get that third down fast. Yeah, there's another macro hatchery coming up here for Ret, and I'm just so impressed with the way Ret has been playing so far. He's really just been bludgeoning WhiteRa to death with mutas, which is kind of hard to do, but Rhett's now on his 2 geysers here at his main. His 3rd hatchery is now done, as we can see the creep just immediately bursting out of there. And bursting and Zerg are 2 words I do not want to think about. But yeah, the 1 Stargate is done. I'd imagine if WhiteRa is probably going to come off of this right away. No, it's just straight into Phoenix. So it looks like he wants to play a little safer against that Muta style. Red just holding watchtowers here, and this is perfect. Actually, to watch the 2 offensive watchtowers, so you can catch pushes a lot earlier than normal. One thing I don't see Protoss players doing enough is actually contending with the Zerg for those watchtowers, because they might think, well, I could send Zealots out, but they'll get surrounded by Zerglings, and it's like, well, at the same time, they'll have to spend a whole bunch of stuff on Zerglings instead of on drones, so that's a 2-way street. I don't think you're really losing a lot if you lose Zealots in the middle of the map at this stage of the game. But yeah, we see the speed coming down here for Red. Again, fairly late speed. He likes to just go that double geyser, apparently, and the first game that he did it really early and grabbed that really early lair, so yeah, I don't know. But anyway, here comes 1 Stalker to clear out the watchtower, another Stalker to clear out the other watchtower, and the 1 Phoenix is going to move across. Rhett knows this Phoenix is out, and you can't overreact to that. There's obviously not a ton of Phoenix all rallying at the same time, but you have to be a little smart about approaching Protoss air harassment. So we can see a probe is going to go ahead and drop a pylon here at the 3rd, and Rhett knows about this. He can actually just move his queen over here and attack that. Yes, he does. There's actually a lot of gateways in WhiteRa's base. He has 3 gateways, or he's going to be on 4 now, excuse me. So he can start the harassment right away as soon as his pylon finishes and make Rhett put out units that he does not want to make right now. There's a Spore Crawler coming down, and the pylon's done, so is he not going to warp in or what? He does just go ahead and lift the queen. He has the resources for it, and he has the supply for it, but he's not warping in. Okay, there he goes. He does actually start the Zealot warp-ins, and he's going to kill this queen easily. He does not lose any Phoenix, so he's just going to start harassing this base the best he can. There's only 2 Zerglings coming out once again, and this is one time where, okay, never mind. Jeez, I'm just missing all of Rhett's production cycles. I don't know what's going on today. But Rhett's going to clean this up fairly easily. Infestation Pit is now on the way to deal with this air unit harassment. And these Zealots go down pretty easily. They actually don't do that much damage, as +1 was not researched, which against Zerglings, I mean, that's just not going to really do the job. WhiteRa picking off a lot of drones here, as these Phoenix have a fair number of kills. But yeah, WhiteRa is going to go ahead and transition into a robotics facility, which is kind of the safety tech in all matchups. Look how fast WhiteRa's 3rd came down. It's already done at 10:30. So WhiteRa being really aggressive about getting that down. You can see actually that WhiteRa's harassment did not do a ton, but he just kind of was verifying Rhett's army size with that, I think. I think the point of that was to warp stuff in, do a little bit of damage, but he wanted to gauge if Rhett already had a ton of roaches or a ton of Zerglings already on the field that he didn't know about, and that would make this 3rd a lot less safe to take. If you can see that he's taking a 3rd with only 3 Zealots, 2 Stalkers, and 6 Phoenix. If there were a bunch of roaches on the field, this 3rd would die. He may have even actually just lose the game at that point. So that was a weird pressure, it may seem, but it was actually a scouting pressure. So strange to see stuff like that out of Protoss nowadays. There's a Hydra Den and a Spire coming out at the same time. I think Rhett is overreacting just a little bit to this air harassment. He does see quite a fair number of Phoenix, but it's not like if you see the Phoenix being produced that slowly that at home he has a whole bunch of them sitting around. So I don't know if Rhett really knows about that 3rd base. Let's take a look at his vision really quickly and see what's going on. Rhett, you have 2 Spires coming down. Does he not notice this really, or is this actually intentional? If this is intentional, this is one of the weirdest builds I've ever seen, but 2 Spires coming down right next to each other, and yeah, I don't know what that's all about. Phoenix are still coming over here. It's still going to be able to kill quite a few Overlords. They could actually kill this Queen here, and another Spore Crawler is being started. I think WhiteRa is actually showing his Phoenix here heavily on purpose, just to try to make Rhett overreact. But the Phoenix are killing a fair number of drones, and the 1 Spire finishes, the 2nd Spire, okay, it's cancelled, so that was just a mistake. I feel like I'm just in Rhett's brain here, because I know exactly when that's going to stop, but a few Zerglings do run by here into the main. 1 Zealot warp in is going to deal with that pretty easily, and it's hard to target down workers here if you're Rhett, because the threat level of the Zealots is so much higher. At least he did get scouting off. He knows Colossus are on the way, as evidenced by the spinning robotics and the done Robobay there. WhiteRa's going to move out with his standard Warp Prism and try to get some harassment done in addition to these Phoenix. He's actually killed a fair number of drones, 20 worker kills so far. So economically, he's in really good shape. If you take a look at the worker count, he's actually ahead, 80 to 76. So This harassment, while it was meant to do scouting, actually has done a lot of damage. I'm surprised. So here come a few more Zerglings trying to do that same play, but I don't think WhiteRa's going to allow that once again. Zerglings are just trying to run around once again. Oh, nice warp in there to block that off. So Rhett loses all of those Zerglings for free. +2 missile attacks on the way, which is the ground attacks for Rhett. That's really fast +2. And the Spire is researching +1 as well. So this Spire is actually probably just going to be for Corruptors. And oh wow, Rhett's hive is already done, and he has already started adrenal glands for a long time. And adrenal gland Zerglings are something that I love. Not nearly enough Zergs get adrenal glands, and that is one of the best upgrades in the game to make these 25 mineral pukes just completely chug out damage. You can see he's not keeping up on his attack upgrades for his Zerglings. That's actually okay. Against Colossus, which he knows are coming down, you need to kill those Colossus with reinforcements and with your Corruptors. You can see 4 Corruptors on the way, and your reinforcements are typically Roaches just to try and overpower them, which is really the best shot that you have. A few Stalkers are still harassing the turret, so WhiteRa is staying so active around the map, but those Stalkers are so dead. Zerglings now surrounding these Stalkers, and they don't have a chance. So there's no reason to watch their death. Okay, we'll watch it anyway. Those Stalkers blow up. There's legs everywhere and parts bouncing all over the ground. WhiteRa is going to easily kill these Zerglings, no problem here. So you can see throwing down just a couple of force fields just to try to prevent those Zerglings from running away. The Colossus smashed the force fields, so the Zealots aren't getting stuck in there as well. So Colossus doing more than one job. WhiteRa taking such a fast 4th. 16 minutes, he's already taking a 4th base against Zerg. That's so rare to see. And Rhett, in response, is taking a 5th, or perhaps just would have been taking it anyway. Here comes the Greater Spire. So it looks like Rhett actually wants to go into Broodlords, which is a nice call. There's a fair number of Stalkers here. Blink is on the way, +2 attacks on the way. I think that WhiteRa needs to get the Stargate spinning once again to deal with these Broodlord numbers, because Rhett's going to have so much gas to put out these Broodlords. Let's take a look at his gas incoming. It should actually be about almost 900 if I'm counting correctly. Yeah, around 800, so pretty high. Here comes an engagement here in the middle of the map here. Not too big of an engagement though, just a lot of Zerglings died for no real reason. Warp Prism speed is on the way, so that's an interesting upgrade you don't see every day. As we can see it here on the robotics bay. So yeah, the other one is Observer speed, which you never see either, but it's 2 upgrades that I think you're going to start seeing more and more as time goes on. Here's another engagement coming down. This is an awful army against Colossus. I don't know why Rhett is sticking with so many Hydras. But yeah, so here comes the army out of WhiteRa. He was transferring probes here, and Rhett is now keen to this base being up. But this army is going to get fried, so there's absolutely no way Rhett is going to come out ahead on this battle. The Corruptors move up, and at least he can pick off Colossi, and that's a good place to start. But these Hydras just die so fast to this army. As you can see, just getting ripped apart. And WhiteRa still has 173 supply on the field with a 4th base. Is going to be mining here in a second as he actually saves it from the Zergling harassment. So WhiteRa turning Rhett away at every turn. I hated that army composition. I don't know what the deal with Zergling Hydra against Colossus was. That was just a really bad call. But, or at least, I don't know. I don't want to say bad call because I know Rhett's a really good player, but I don't get it. I don't understand what that was for. But there's now 5 Broodlords morphing, but he just doesn't have the support on the field. You really need Roaches against Hydra, or against this unit composition, and Rhett should actually get the cancel on this unless WhiteRa can get some really nice warp-ins and prevent this from happening. The Nexus is going down. It's less than 100 health, and yes, it does drop. So Rhett just goes ahead and kills that, but the second, or rather third base of Rhett is actually in danger. One Colossus goes down to Zerglings running into the main, so that sucks to lose a Colossus to Zerglings. So he's staying on top of those Colossi numbers as the Broodlord numbers start to swell, but again, I don't know why he's just sticking on Zerglings. I like the Crackling upgrade, but these are just 1-1 Cracklings. I don't know. I'm just really fearful for Rhett here, because if you have Broodlords out, I should explain this, if you have Broodlords out, you need something really fat to buffer it, and that really fat unit is almost always going to be Roaches. So if you go Roach Broodlord, you can make your Broodlords live for a long time because the Stalkers can't really afford to blink under that, because then they're sacrificing themselves. And Roaches kill Stalkers really easily, especially if Stalkers are focusing on killing Broodlords. Broodlords are pressing up here with no protection. There's only a few Zerglings underneath there. So WhiteRa is just, I think he's trying to gauge the threat level. Look at this huge surround of Zerglings right here. Beautiful play out of Rhett, getting a lot of mileage out of those. But again, you can just blink out of there, and the Zealots are going to do pretty well at killing all the Zerglings. So there goes all of your buffer, and more Hydralists on the way. Are you serious? I don't know. I don't really like that. I mean, they're good damage dealers, but in terms of just being meaty and being able to eat a lot of damage, they're just bad. Especially with the double Robo Colossus production now. There's also a Dark Shrine on the way out of WhiteRa, and he's actually not built his Nexus here again. That has to be a complete mistake. But, oh my god, look at these huge warpins on the side here for WhiteRa. Tons of Zealots coming in here, and these are going to be +3 Zealots here pretty soon, so that means Zerglings are just toast. Look how pathetic this is. One Hydra that's just barely running away from these Zealots, and the Zealots all chasing him. That's a sad sight. Fairly large engagement is going to come up here as the Broodlords now come up to start sieging WhiteRa's base. WhiteRa is going to be taking a lot of damage from those Hydras, so at least his call was okay there, but once these Colossus move up, all the buffering is gone, and all these Broodlords are going to be dead. So this is going to be really brutal once this attack actually gets put together. You can see WhiteRa is actually behind in supply, but he just has so much stuff that, or rather, Rhett has so little stuff to buffer this damage that once WhiteRa commits and is able to take this down, it's going to be a quick and painful death. And yes, usually say long and painful, but I'm going to say it the other way around. It's going to be quick and painful. But yeah, WhiteRa just really biding his time. He knows he has to kill all this in one shot, so he has to pick the right time to engage here. And the Stalkers are now ready to blink up, and there they go. Look how fast these Broodlords are all going to die. There's 2 Broodlords down. WhiteRa's not targeting these anymore. He needs to fall back and let the Colossus do their job, and they are just frying up everything. So there's all your buffer stuff. Really not much there. And again, WhiteRa's getting huge warpins. He has tons of economy, tons of money to burn. So as soon as he gets another blink under there, as soon as he's ready, he's just going to dominate this. So Colossus are pressing up here. Here's the blink in. He's going to target down all these Broodlords once again. They're all just dropping like flies. WhiteRa is not targeting once again. He needs to blink once more right underneath these, and there he goes to target down Broodlords individually rather than just let the Stalkers do their jobs of just shooting whatever. Here comes more Zergling reinforcements, but look at these Colossi. They're just completely unchecked. He's just plowing through everything. So Rhett loses all of his Broodlords. He's now at 91 supply. He did kill a mining base of WhiteRa, but there's just not a lot of minerals here. There's one Zergling poking at this robotics bay, and that's not going to get a whole lot done. But WhiteRa knows his advantages. He knows the type of tech that Rhett is on. I don't even think Rhett has a Roach Warren out, which is awful. Here comes a small drop here, and these Zealots don't have charge, so these Hydralisks can kite those all day. But WhiteRa is just pressing in from both sides here. I think he's ready to go for a kill move, and there's no real reason not to, because he knows that Rhett's tech is just bad right now. 2 Dark Templar are coming in here to snipe this infestation pit. No, they don't. They just walk right past and go for the Spore Crawler. And Rhett knows how dead he is. He just has to say good game. So yeah, lesson learned there. If you're going to run Broodlords, you cannot use stuff that just dies to Colossus like that. Because these 4 Colossus, take a look at their kills. 51 kills on one, 31 on another, 37, and 63. So if you add all that up really quickly, that is 68 plus 63, so what, 129, or rather 131 plus 51. That's 180 kills out of your Colossi, and your buffer units are just pathetic against that. So once they overwhelm your buffer units, you're dead. You're going to lose all of your Broodlords, and that's basically your entire army. And they're going to have huge warpins. They can keep harassing you like this, and you just don't have a huge economy. He actually lost his other base here. He actually lost 2 bases during all that. So if you start slipping away in economy, you just can't remake that. You don't have roaches to tank stuff. You can't kill Colossi at all. So, geez, I mean, that's a shining example of you have to have something good to buffer for your Broodlords. But, yeah, so we're going to go on to Game 5 as WhiteRa ties up the series 2-2. This is going to decide who comes out of the first round of this tournament. And, yeah, join me for that in just a second here. It should be a pretty exciting game.